welcome back to my channel. Today's video will consist of a question and answer with yours truly. Funny thing about this video, it was supposed to happen last semester. I remember I put like a poll up on my Instagram. I asked if some of my followers or subscribers would be interested in something like this, and then I got an overwhelming response of yes, and then I got even more overwhelmed response of, you know, people who submitted questions, and somehow I just forgot about this vlog or video. You know, this is the first time that I've sat down and talked with you guys since I started med school, and of course that was very busy, definitely a time of adjustment, and I didn't have as much time to be as consistent on the channel as I wanted to. This question and answer is just like a general all-around like lifestyle type thing. However, I do plan on later on in my YouTube journey doing a question and answer specifically tailored to med school and the application process and how to handle things when you are in med school. All right, so enough anticipation. Let's go ahead and dive deep into it. So these are just some general questions. All right. So the first one says, I'm playing ball right now. How do you find the balance for athletics, academics, and relationships? I think being an athlete in college definitely takes, well, being in college in general, it just takes a lot of discipline. But then adding athletics on top of that, you have to really, really practice discipline. And like people throw that word around there, but it's really, it's an intentional thing. Like you can say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna be more disciplined. Like it's something you have to intentionally practice and something you have to intentionally get better at and want to embody. You want to be able to say that I am disciplined. And that means just being able to do certain things that you enjoy anymore in moderation. So being an athlete in college and also being pre-med, it's not like I had to say goodbye to a social life or say goodbye to relationships or say goodbye to watching TV, but all of that definitely had to come in moderation. And I think an important thing, and you know, maybe not everyone who's watching this was an athlete in college, but you probably have many things to juggle at once. I think whenever sometimes you have lots of obligations and you feel yourself being pulled in one direction more, like for example, I feel like athletics was taking over my life, you have a natural tendency to drop everything else. So, you know, your leisure time activities, going to church, spending time with family, if you're really artsy, you know, drawing, painting, or whatever, you just tend to drop everything else because that one thing is taking over your life. But I think what would help you enjoy that other thing much more is still making sure that you have a balance with the other things that make you you. Because whenever you take one thing and make it your identity and you get lost in it, you lose sight of all the other things that make you you, that can be a really, really miserable experience. So I think what would make you enjoy being in athletics more, or you can even apply this to medical school, is still making sure that you do all the other things, but in moderation. In moderation meaning that you have to be organized and you have to plan ahead. Like if you, one example of being undisciplined is if, you know, a certain show, you know, a whole new season just released, if you plan ahead saying like, okay, I'll give myself, you know, 1 hour of TV every night or X amount of, you know, hours of TV every night, and you stick to that, that's a good way of being disciplined. Otherwise, you know, one day you'll come home, you just had a really crummy day, you're tired, you're exhausted, your teammates might have like pissed you off or something, and you'll fall into a habit of like binge watching the whole thing. You know, you just don't have time for that because one, you have to wake up the next morning for practice. Two, you still have to have time to study. So I think just forming good habits of discipline, organization, and planning ahead. The next question is, were you the first in your family to go to med school? I'm the first person in my family to do any kind of medical profession. If I'm correct, I don't think we have any dentists, no physical therapists, no nurses. Also really excited about, you know, being the first person in my family to go to med school, because now I can kind of pave the way for anyone else in my family who wants to. And I think one thing that people don't realize is, having family friends or family members or parents who are, or siblings who have gone to med school, have done the process. It really is a privilege to have someone to look to answer questions about, what is the interview process like? Does this sentence in my personal statement sound right? Because, they've been there, they've done that, they know the ins and outs of it, and they can really help you. What did you learn from your students throughout your teaching year? So again, this is kind of a throwback to one of my older videos. During my gap year, I was a teacher. I think the one thing that I realized the most is how fragile your development years are. They definitely taught me that. I did not realize at the age of 13 and 14 that you're teenagers, but you're still so young and you're learning so much. And it's really interesting, and I actually just watched a YouTube video on this, how much your childhood really affects your adult life and the decisions you make, or the things you decide not to do, or the things you decide to study in college, or even where you decide to live. So much of that, so much of your present is definitely heavily rooted in your past. And I just think something that's really important is whenever you're talking to young children, to just be as positive as possible, because their mind, things are still being molded, and it's really, really important to just make sure they're surrounded with positivity, because negativity is so easy for them to latch on. You can tell them 1,000 positive things, and it's so easy for them to latch onto that one negative thing, and they really start believing that, and they carry that on through with the rest of their life. And like I said, that really, really molds, or sets the trajectory of what the rest of your life is going to look like. So like I said, you think the important things in life happen maybe in high school, or like college is the best years of your life, but being a child and being young is so beautiful and so innocent. And I think a lot of us probably took our childhoods for granted. So just people who maybe are gonna be interacting with children one day in life, like really just make sure you feed them with positivity. The next one is, what's one of your biggest accomplishments? So I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is, and I've kind of already spoken on this, but being a Division I athlete in college. I definitely took that for granted. Growing up, I was always athletic and pretty much excelled at most of the sports that I played. And so it was kind of just a given that you play summer league, you make the high school team, you go to college, you get a scholarship. Like that was kind of just the path that I just assumed that I would be on, but I didn't realize that there are so many people out there who don't make it to that level. And not just Division I, just playing in college in general is really quite a unique and amazing experience. And I'm definitely very proud of myself that I was able to be in such a small percentage of people. Because when you think of it, the amount of people who play sports in high school, and then the small percentage of people who make it to college, it's probably under 10%. I don't even have the numbers for it. But and then also my senior year, I was voted team captain, which was crazy because I transferred to Tulane in my junior and senior year. So I wasn't even there a full 4 years, and my teammates, believed in me enough and looked up to me enough to let me represent them at the beginning of each game at the coin toss, and advocate on their behalf to the coaches if there are any team needs or anything like that. So definitely playing college ball. Okay, this next one's kind of a loaded question, but how to get closer to God? So there's a lot of ways, and I think it really differs on your personal walk with him and your experiences with faith definitely molds your relationship with God and how that grows and progresses. But I guess a little bit of I can share a little bit of my experience. I really felt that my faith life took off and really started to become unique and personal when I started journaling. That's not something that I did as a child. Like, I know a lot of people have like diaries and, you know, write down all their little secrets and all that kind of stuff. I never had a diary as a kid. But I was just really getting bored in the monotonous, just, you know, church and worship and read the Bible and pray and then repeat. So I just really needed to find a new way to talk with God and connect with him. And I really found that through journaling. And I started off with like a 31-day challenge. One of my favorite YouTubers and pastors, Heather Lindsay. Her organization is called Pinky Promise, and I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. She wanted everyone to join her in like the first month of the year journal challenge where you did it every day. And like even after that, I didn't do it every day, but I was very consistent, and I found that to be a time that I looked forward to. It just felt serene and peaceful, and I could really just feel God speaking to me and like moving in my life in ways that he hadn't before before I was journaling. So that's one way. Of course, there are others: fellowship, praise and worship, Bible study, Sunday school. You know, you can find that you get closer to God through ministering and to others and sharing your testimony to others. But that is just one. That is just one way that I really found that I liked. You know, it wasn't too. Yeah. So that's my answer. That's all really I have to say about that. I mean, actually, I have a lot more to say about that, but I don't want this video to be like 45 minutes long. So okay, next question. Who is your inspiration? Definitely 100% my parents, and in very different ways. Currently right now my mom is going back to school and she's pursuing another degree. This one's going to be in psychology. So like I just mentioned, she just recently got into counseling, and so she just really wants to learn more about that, and then also getting a degree in it will allow her more opportunities in the field. And so I think where I got my inspiration for education and continually seeking higher education is definitely from her. I remember my mom would have me doing like math problems during the summer when everyone else was outside of summer camp, and I was doing math problems, and it wasn't just math problems of the year that I was about to start third grade. It wasn't third grade math problems. I was doing fourth grade and fifth grade math problems, and she was always just giving me new books to read and like buying me computer games that teach me how to spell and things like that. So I think I really found my love for knowledge and striving for higher education definitely from my mom. She definitely instilled in me the importance of that, and I am so grateful for that. I'm proud of her for what she's doing right now, going back to school. And I think out of her siblings, she's definitely, after this next degree, she's going to be the most educated of all of them. So I just think it's amazing that even when you're middle-aged, and some people consider your life to be halfway over or set in stone, that you can always keep learning and striving for more knowledge. And my inspiration, you know, for sports and athletics and staying healthy and being fit, of course, comes from my dad. Not that my mom doesn't find that important either, but like my dad, one thing a lot of people don't know about me, or well, it's not really about me, it's about him, that, you know, he used to play in the NFL, so sports was, of course, his life growing up as well. Like, he's in the Hall of Fame at Nicholls State University. He's very well known where we're from, and so I think, you know, he really wanted me to even be better than him in sports, and have the blessing of me, you know, being able to be good in sports and to be athletic, to afford me opportunities that it wouldn't otherwise have, you know, if I didn't play sports. And I remember, you know, during Mardi Gras, everyone was going to the Mardi Gras parade, but he's like, oh, let's go get some shots in the gym, or take me in the backyard and throw pitches and make sure that, you know, at least 80 of them had to be strikes before we went back inside. And, you know, traveling with me during the summer, just me and him, to tournaments, and just, you know, investing in videos and books and, you know, gadgets to help me get better in my craft in any sport that I was playing, whether it was, you know, softball at the time, or volleyball, or basketball, or whatever. And, you know, and like I said, he's on the school board, but also right now he works for the parish and does recreational sports, and, you know, he organizes the teams and makes the schedule and hires the coaches and stuff. So I think his, you know, love for sports is very apparent, that, you know, he still works in it to this day, even though, you know, he's not an athlete himself anymore. He still wants to foster that in kids and help bring up the next generation of athletes in our town. So definitely inspired by both of them, but in very, very different ways. All right, yep, so that's about it. I hope you found at least one of those questions maybe helpful, or if not helpful, at least it gave you a little bit of an insight as to who I am and things that I care about, the people who are important to me in my life. All right, so I think rest of the day I'm going to maybe watch some Bachelor, clean my room up a little bit. We just got off a really, really tough week. We had 3 tests on Friday, so the bad thing about that is you're studying for 3 tests at one time. But the good thing about it is when you're done with your test, you have a full weekend with nothing to study for, because all of your classes, you know, it's on a block schedule, so, you know, you end that block at the same time, which means you have nothing else to study for the weekend, unless you want to go ahead and prepare for next week's lectures, which I am not in the least bit interested in doing that at all. So yeah, that's all for this one. I hope you guys liked the video, and I'll see you guys next time.